All right, so today we're going to look at what happens when we subtract fractions, but we have to regroup. So just kind of a quick reminder on what regrouping is, and I'm going to use whole numbers to do this. Let's say I have the problem of 21 minus 9. Okay, when I subtract, I start right here with my ones, and right now I cannot do 1 minus 9. So we say that we have to go borrow from the tens place so that 2 becomes a 1. So what I'm doing, it's like I'm taking 10 away from that 20, so it becomes 1, right? This would be like 11. And this ones place is going to have 10 added to it, so that 1 becomes the number 11. So now I have 11 minus 9, which I can do, and that gives me 2. And 1 minus nothing would give me 1. So I get a final answer of 12. So we're going to look at how do we regroup? How do we borrow when we're dealing with fractions? So just like when we add and subtract with with mixed numbers, we want to start with the fractional part first. Because that's where, if we have to regroup, where we're going to see that regrouping happen. So remember, when I add or subtract with fractions, I have to make sure that they have a common denominator. And right now, 5 and 2 are not the same, but their least common denominator is going to be the number 10. So I know that 5 times 2 will get me to 10. So 1 times 2 will give me 2. So an equivalent fraction would be 5 and 2/10 minus 5 times 2 will get me 10. So 1 times 5 gives me 5/10. Okay, so right now, if I start with the fractional part, I have 2 minus 5, because remember, I only talk about the numerators. I leave the denominator the same. But right now, I cannot do 2 minus 5. I don't have enough here. So this is where I have to go borrow. I have to regroup. And when I go borrow, I'm going to take from the whole number. So instead of the number 5, it's like I'm going to change it to be the number 4. But I have to think about, if I'm taking away one whole from the whole number, what fraction am I taking? So one whole amount, when I have a denominator of 10, would look like the fractional part of 10 over 10. So that's what I'm taking away from 5. So if I take away one whole amount, that's going to give me 4. I have 10 over 10, but I still have that 2/10 that I have to add to it. So when I regroup, when I borrow, I'm taking a whole amount of a fraction from the whole number, right? That was our 10 out of 10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it to the fractional part. So 10 plus 2 would give me 12/10. So I know it looks really funky because I have a whole number next to an improper fraction, but I need that. And so I can come over here and do, now with my fractional parts, 12 minus 5, which would give me 7/10. So 7/10, again, was 12 minus 5. This is as simple as I can make it. So now I'm going to subtract my whole numbers. So 4 minus 2 is going to give me 2. Now 2 and 7/10 is already in simplest form, but that would be my final step, is to see, can I simplify it even further? Okay, I know this is a little bit, so let's do a few more examples together. I have 5 and 5/6 minus 3 and 11/12. So first thing I want to do is I want to have common denominators. So the common denominator of 6 and 12 is going to be the number 12. So my scale factor would be times 2. So 5 times 2 gives me 10. So this is equivalent to 5 and 10/12 minus 3 and 11/12. So again, I can't do 10 minus 11, so I have to borrow. So I'm going to take one whole fraction amount away from the number 5, which would be 12, because my denominator is 12, 12 over 12. That would give me one whole. My 5 becomes a 4, and I have to add that to 10/12. So this would give me 4 and 10, or 12 plus 10 gives me 22/12 minus 3 and 11/12. So now I can do 22 minus 11 is going to give me 11/12, and 4 minus 3 gives me 1. So I get 1 and 11/12. All right, our next one, 3 and 1/10 minus 1 and 3/4. The common denominator between 10 and 4 is going to be the number 20. So 10 times 2 would get me there. So this is 3 and 2/20 minus 1 and 15/20. So again, I right now cannot do 2 minus 15, so I'm going to have to borrow. So my whole fractional amount that I would be taking away, since I have a denominator of 20, would be 20 over 20. My 3 is going to become a 2, right? Because I'm taking away that one whole amount. And I have to add it to my 2/20. So this looks like right now 2 and 22/20. That's a lot of 2's. Minus 1 and 15/20. So now I can subtract. 22 minus 15 is going to give me 7/20. And 2 minus 1 gives me 1. So I get 1 and 7/20. All right, our next one, 4 and 5/12 minus 2 and 2/3. So the common denominator between 12 and 3 is actually going to be the number 3. So I get to leave 4 and 5/12 alone. Now I have to change my denominator of 3 into a denominator of 12. That's going to be using a scale factor of 4. So 2 times 4 gives me 8. 3 times 4 gives me 12. So again, right now I cannot do 5 minus 8. So I'm going to borrow. I'm going to take one whole fractional amount from the number 4. So since my denominator is 12, that would be 12 over 12. My 4 is going to decrease to the number 3. And then I have to add the 5/12 to it. So this currently looks like 3 and 12 plus 5 would give me 17/12. And then I'm going to subtract my 2 and 18/12. So I have 17 minus 8 would give me 9/12, but I can actually simplify 9/12. They're both divisible by 3. So that would become 3/4. I'm going to actually move this up here so I have some room. And then I have 3 minus 2 would give me 1. So I get 1 and 3/4.